Hello and welcome back to Boring Dad Gaming, where today we're going to be playing some more Paranormasight, the Mermaid's Curse. Now, this is actually a re-record of an episode I tried to do. Due to teething issues with OBS on my new system, I recorded a whole episode, but it was it didn't work. So we're going to go and I'm going to replay what I played previously, but you guys are seeing it for the first time. But just to explain, that's why when we see the stories screen, a bunch of chapters are going to be unlocked. That you won't have seen yet, but this is the second time I am going through them, but it's fine. Here we go. You guys won't have missed anything. This picks up exactly where we left off in the last one. Avi. Wow, talk about a gorgeous view. It is something, isn't it? This is Mount Asama's observation platform. It overlooks Toba City on one side and Issa City on the other. So that's Toba City over there, eh? What's Toba got going for it? Well, the first thing that comes to mind when thinking about Toba is Toba Castle, built in the Sengoku period by none other than the pirate daimyo Lord Kuki, who at one time led the Kuki naval fleet. Oh, well, that's more exciting than I anticipated. As for the Toba-shima area, it's famous for having the highest population of armor divers in Japan. Aha, I knew there'd be something touristy. What a fantastic blend of culture and history. Let's see what he's thinking about first of all. We've come all this way to a distant foreign land seeking mermaids. Of course, I have my own reasons for trying to locate the mythical creatures, but for now I intend to scour this land in order to learn as much as I can about its lore and legends. But it occurs to me that I never actually explained the particulars of my Issa Bay mermaid excursion to the girl. No matter, it's nothing of consequence really, so I'll just introduce my reasons a bit at a time. Let's have a look at the city. Over there, you can see the city of Toba spread out along the coast. By the way, they tend to call this the Issa-shima region, but most of that time, that term includes Toba as well. Something to keep in mind. So when I hear Issa-shima, I should also think Toba, eh? Good to know. Apparently, Mount Asama's peak sits at 555 meters above sea level, so it's not that high. But as it's situated at the tip of the Shima Peninsula, it offers a magnificent view of Toba Bay's coastline and the outlying islands. Since we stopped by the shrine this morning, I assumed we'd take the mountain path. All I can say is this place takes my breath away. I think that's about it for non-talking to Cersei stuff here. I think so, so let's look down. First off, you should know that the naval troops in the Sengoku period were basically just pirates. Pirates, eh? Yeah, they'd put together crews of rowdy sailors, arm them to the teeth, and have them patrol a designated area of the sea. They only actually served under their commander as a naval force when there was a battle. So that's what the navy was like back then, A ragtag bunch of pirates only called on to do their duty in times of need. Exactly. In fact, such forces only came to be called navies during the Edo period, and that was purely a matter of convenience. As for the Kuki Navy, it was one of the pirate bands patrolling the waters of Issa Bay. A man named Kuki Yoshitaka was his commander, hence the name. He distinguished himself in the service of Oda Nobunaga and Toyotomi Hideyoshi. It's very interesting to hear the Japanese names in a Scouse accent. Eventually rising to the position of daimyo of Shima province. That's why they called him the Pirate Daimyo. He started as a lowly pirate, but rose all the way to the top of the chain of command. Did you say Oda Nobunaga? Him I've heard of. He was the demon king of the sixth heaven, no? True. Well, that's the title he gave himself. Still a pirate and a daimyo. What an enchanting combination. That may be, but he wasn't blessed where allies were concerned. It seemed he was always butting heads with his relatives. Oh? For one thing, he may have had his nephew Sumitaka assassinated in order to take over the Kuki clan. He also fought on the opposite side to his own son, Murataka, in the decisive battle of Sekigahara. And in the end, spurred on by his vassals, he committed suicide on Toshijima, that island over there. So, while Kuki became daimyo of Shima province, his land was confiscated during his son's rule, and the clan fell into decline. Life truly is full of ups and downs. How the mighty do fall. He must have been quite a character. That reminds me, there's another fascinating legend related to the Kuki clan. Oh, do tell. What is about Kuki Yoshitaka's nephew, Sumitaka? He had an extraordinarily beautiful daughter named Princess Hatsune.
I dare say I know where this is going. Whenever a legend starts with a beautiful daughter, it inevitably ends with trouble.
Oh, you're not wrong there. Princess Hatsune was so beautiful that she saw no end of suitors, and her father sought to marry her off to achieve his political ends. But the princess already had a lover, so she fought against her father's plans, and even ran away several times, only to be brought home.
I knew it. Alas, that's what life was like for the daughters of powerful figures in those days.
Well, Princess Hatsune lamented her fate. Must I be cursed with such misfortune merely for my beauty? And she didn't stop there. May no beautiful daughter be born to this land again. Such was the curse she left behind before throwing herself down a well. And so ends the legend.
Not what I'd call a happy ending. The princess may have had good intentions, but I'm sure no one else felt like she was doing them any favours.
Good intentions? That's not how I interpreted it.
Well, what was your take on the story then?
When authority figures try to force other people's hands, they bring these things upon themselves. It's just asking to get cursed.
Fair enough, I see your point.
Still, the princess did take her a bit far. To me, though, it almost feels like that part was tacked on later. As if someone thought it would make the story more impactful, and that word of it would travel further if the princess killed herself at the end.
Oh, well, if you're right, that would change the story completely.
But there's something else that interests me more. Sumitaka became the head of the Kuki clan in 1560, but he was so young that Yoshitaka had to be appointed as his guardian. His exact age at the time isn't known, but the common belief is he was about 8 years old.
Yeah, nothing unusual there. Premature inheritances were a common occurrence in those days.
Yeah, but consider this. When Sumitaka died 24 years later, in 1584, he would have been 32 years old.
Yes?
Well, even if we suppose that Princess Hatsune was 15, their ages don't quite add up, do they?
Age differences weren't so much a point of contention back then, but even so, that is a bit odd.
Which begs the question, did Princess Hatsune really exist to begin with?
And even if she did, was she really Sumitaka's daughter?
An agate Magatama was unearthed at the place where the princess was supposedly buried. That could easily have been planted there to lend credibility to the tale.
Well, once you start doubting, it's hard not to see lies everywhere.
True. The pursuit of the unknown starts with belief, doesn't it?
Well said.
Certain occult researcher told me that one.
Oh, you don't say.
Oh, I just realised something. Kuki Sumitaka died. Was assassinated exactly 400 years ago.
Is that significant?
Well, it is. A special spiritual significance is attached to periods of 400 years. For instance, the cycle of death and rebirth supposedly lasts 400 years. Some stories claim that a soul endures for 400 years. Of course, 800-year immortals have twice that lifespan. But as you can see, 400 years is widely considered a good cut-off point.
So there's a chance something happens after 400 years.
Maybe. In any case, we should probably tread carefully here.
It sounds to me as if we're in the right place at the right time.
Amadivers have a long history in the Tobashima region. Evidence indicates that free divers have been fishing in the area since ancient times.
Oh, you don't say.
Well, most notably, it's said that Oben once presented an abalone to Yamatohime no Mikoto as the very first Amadiver. In fact, there's a shrine dedicated to Oben in Kuzaki that is considered a sacred place to Amadivers of the Tobashima region.
Oh, is that so? She must have been truly legendary.
Moreover, there are several poems in the famous 8th century poetry anthology, Manyoshi, that depict the Amadiver in Shima province. Amadivers also appear in dozens of ukiyo-e from the Edo period. Clearly, they were a popular theme.
Well, it's quite incredible to think that their method of fishing has not only endured for so long, but has been recorded in such exquisite detail.
There is another point worth noting. Amadivers have long been likened to mermaids for their skill and grace. You could even argue that the Amadiver culture that is so deeply rooted in this place is interwoven with the region's mermaid legends.
Yes, there is a theory that the mermaids of Issa Bay were simply Amadivers.
It does seem likely that there's a connection between the two. I'd need be surprised if they were the originators of the legend.
Perhaps, but I'd be beyond disappointed if that's all there is to it.
Oh, right. By the way, there's another legend surrounding the Amadivers of the Tobashima region regarding something called the Tomokazuki.
The Tomokazuki?
Well, it's believed that an armor diver may encounter a copy of herself underwater, who will then offer her an abalone. If she accepts, the Tomokazuki doppelganger will drag her to the bottom of the sea, never to be seen again.
Ah, Cersei, please don't spring any scary stories on me out of nowhere.
Well, that's why the armor divers of the area wear salmon and dolmen symbols on them while they dive. It's a tradition that has continued right up to the present day. There must be some reason for it beyond pure superstition.
Ah, interesting.
On another note, the armor divers of the Tobishima region possess such exceptional diving skills that in addition to fishing, they also saved people from drowning and fetched objects that had sunk to the seafloor right up to the Meiji area.
Well, it sounds as if they were true diving professionals.
Well, exactly. In fact, after the Heike were defeated at Dan no Ura and were lost beneath the waves.
Oh, we're back to the Heike already. I wasn't aware there was a connection.
Well, after that fateful battle, who do you think they sent to reclaim the legendary sword Kusanagi no Tsurugi from the seafloor? 2 armor divers.
Ah, so their lost and found services were being employed even back then, hey?
And while they were diving, they came face to face with the vengeful spirits of the drowned Heike.
Oh, Cersei, please, you're going to give me nightmares.
Well, at least that's what's depicted in the ukiyo-ide entitled, In the Western Sea, the diving women encounter the Heike in the depths of the water.
Ah, such a deep connection. To think the Heike were even once depicted with armor divers. They truly are a symbol of the Isashima region.
Yeah, but the setting for that ukiyo is Dan no Ura, which isn't anywhere near here. Still, it does go to show that armor divers have held a deep connection to the sea for a very long time. What is he thinking at the moment?
From what I hear, lots of the inns in Toba are run by armor divers and fishermen. Can't wait to dig into some seafood tonight.
And when we're talking about the Tobishima region, armor divers are always going to be key players.
True, if you ask me, they should be brought up before the pirates.
Mind you, the Navy had a crucial role to play too. Okay. Anything? No. Okay. Is there something else going on? Maybe if we look at Cersei.
This young lady is a distant relative of mine, the 3rd daughter of the Lunalite family. The Lunalites have been in the business of demonic exorcism in England for several generations now. As such, young Cersei has received education on this rare subject from a young age and is now an apprentice exorcist. In order to continue her training, or more likely simply because of her interest in the area, Cersei has come to Japan to study abroad. And hearing such news, I sought to employ her as my guide for this mermaid hunting expedition to Issa Bay. She is apparently quite fond of Japanese myths and folktales, and has already explored a number of areas concerned with the occult. Interested in visiting me a prefecture at least once during her stay, she immediately agreed to my request. Right, well, as fascinating as all this has been, Cersei, I say it's high time we return to our primary topic of interest here.
Oh, and what would that be? Personally, now that we visited Issa Shrine, I'm more or less satisfied.
Oh, tut-tut. Cersei, you disappoint me. We didn't come here purely to chase legends, did we?
Oh, I was hoping we could move on to buying souvenirs next.
You know perfectly well that the true purpose of my voyage is nothing more or less than a treasure hunt.
Right.
Of course, I'm sure all this information we've been gathering will come in handy as well. First things first, let's head back to the inn. From there we can plan our next move.
Why is he looking at us like that?
Breaking the fourth wall.
Okay, so we're going to move in sequence through these. As you can probably see, I have played these two. But that's fine. We're going to redo it. There are some puzzles in here, so it does mean I won't have to dally too long on about actually solving those puzzles, having already done it one time. So, we're just going to look at the key things here.
Now then, I believe it is time we discuss our strategy.
Sure. What do you mean by strategy?
It should be obvious. We must reflect on all we've learned if we want to move forward.
Let's have a look at his sketch, first of all.
This is a sketch of the mermaid mummy that I found in our family storage. Bringing it along would have been out of the question, so I settled on just bringing a sketch.
Oh,
that's right. I still haven't told Cersei why I'm searching for mermaids.
Maybe we should do that first.
To be frank, I didn't come here to simply travel around researching Issa Bay's mermaid legends. My real goal is to find an actual mermaid.
Oh yeah, well I had a feeling that was it.
So you already knew. Exorcists sure have some keen instincts.
What will you do if you find a mermaid? Do you want to become immortal?
I suppose. Might as well, considering all the trouble finding one will be.
Your reasoning is unexpectedly, uninspired.
Simple though it may be, I find the idea quite romantic, akin to ascending to a new stage of humanity.
Well, sure, I guess.
I take it you disagree with my thinking, Cersei.
Well, I fail to see why my opinion should matter here. What you do is your decision to make. Though I'm not certain that an immortal can still be called human. Still, your decision is irrelevant to my duty, so I'll not try to interfere. Actually, meeting an immortal would be a rare once-in-a-lifetime chance. Please, transcend humanity and let me examine you.
I'd prefer it if you didn't speak of me like a research specimen, but I'll overlook it for now.
Though I do wonder if immortality would actually bring you any happiness. When you look at all folk tales, it tends to be less of a blessing, more of a curse.
Oh, geez, don't say that after I've already made up my mind and everything.
Well, I'm sure you'll be alright. If you're tired of immortality, you only need to embark on a journey like a modern-day Yao Bikuni.
Oh, that is one way to look at it, though I think the nun part might be an issue. Well, I shouldn't get too far ahead of myself. There's no immortality to be had until I find a mermaid flesh to bite into, so let's start there.
Understood. I'm also quite interested in finding a mermaid myself.
So we're going to have a look at... Let's have a quick look at his research materials. Some of the notes I've taken. The information in them is not substantive and likely of no use. Look at his map.
This map looks quite old.
Exactly. It is also the precise reason I have come to Mir. To put it simply, this is no ordinary map. This is a mermaid treasure map.
A mermaid treasure map?
Allow me to explain. I found this mermaid treasure map in the family storage. Oh, I should explain it to Cersei. Yeah, okay. I found this map in the old family storage. It was left behind by my great-grandmother.
If she's your great-grandmother, that would make her my great-grandmother's sister. I heard she was exiled from the Lunalight family because of her eccentricities.
Well, that's correct. She was quite fond of the occult and amassed a number of suspicious curios over her lifetime. As a child, I loved searching through the storehouse that housed her collection. It was like a treasure hunt of wonders, a demon's tale, a yeti's bone, a book of black magic, Ogopogo's tooth, a piece of a UFO, a crystal skull. I cannot vouch that any of it was authentic, but it was still so exciting to look through. It's no exaggeration when I say that this very storehouse is what led me down the path of becoming a fantasy author.
I suppose that's the kind of formative experience an occult writer needs.
Just so. I have to thank my great-grandmother. She's the reason I can put food on the table. And among the items in that collection was this.
I see, a mermaid mummy.
Precisely. They were rather prevalent at sideshows and the like all over the world in the 19th century. Mermaid mummies from Japan were quite popular because of their high quality. A number of them even made their way to Europe.
Huh?
This one probably made its way to the family storage around that time. It was probably passed from one seller to another until it ended up in my great-grandmother's hands.
How are you so sure it was made in Japan?
Well, you see, I gave this mummy a thorough investigation. I even took it apart. Sure enough, it was made of wood and paper clay. But lo and behold, I also found this map inside.
Truly, you found the map inside a mummy?
Whoever made it all those years ago must have snuck the map inside. I doubt my great-grandmother had the slightest idea it was even in there.
Well, that's an incredible discovery.
It is simply tantalizing, is it not? There is not a doubt in my mind that it will lead to a most thrilling discovery. Still talking to Cersei.
So then, why did you call this a mermaid treasure map?
Well, it was hidden inside a mermaid mummy, so it follows it must be a treasure map of sorts, no? I feel it is fair to surmise it must have something to do with immortality, too.
I see. Your enthusiasm has carried you quite a ways from home. I'm impressed.
Thank you. I have no doubt our treasure lies somewhere in Issa Bay.
What shames there's no X to mark the spot.
Indeed, and this leads us to our first conundrum. Any ideas how to decipher this map, Cersei?
Put me on the spot, why don't you? But it does look like something's written here. Do you know what it says?
Oh, that part. I actually did some research on that. Apparently it says search the 95th.
Search the 95th? Sure makes it sound like it leads to a secret location of some sort.
Yes, and it must be related to mermaids. Aren't you just itching to find it?
Oh, you know it.
I knew it. I'm counting on you to help me solve the map's riddle. Oh wait, I just remembered.
Hmm?
You said you can dowse, no? Can't you just dowse for the treasure? Then we can skip this whole map and riddle business altogether.
I'll apologise. That's impossible.
Truly. But why?
Well, dowsing is usually to find waterways, veins of ore, and other such things. My dowsing, however, can be used to find people and objects imbued with a spiritual power. However, I must be familiar with the spiritual power that I'm looking for.
I see. So in other words, you wouldn't be able to find a treasure you've never seen or heard of.
Yeah, well, the distance from which I can detect the source also depends on how strong the spiritual power is.
It's not quite the superpower I thought it was.
I say we've had enough of a diversion. Let's get back to investigating your map.
So we're done with that now. Okay. Right. What about the other one?
Searching for a mermaid meat alone seems like a waste.
Agreed. The best way to go about this would be to find a living human mermaid. And I've no doubt that this map will lead us to a place that's related to mermaids and immortality.
Oh, it's quite exciting.
Now this is what I call a true adventure. No matter the era, there's nothing better than a quest for the unknown. Okay. So let's have a look at the map now. Let's take a good look. Pick it up. So, okay, so there's things to examine here first.
Oh?
Did you notice something?
It looks like something's written on the other side.
I see. I knew I must have missed something. I should carefully hold the edge when I want to look at the other side. Okay, we're going to turn it over, then show it to Cersei.
Take a close look at all the spots on the back of the map.
Oh, those. I dismissed them as a bunch of stains.
Do you really think that's all they are?
So the spots, if you remember, I think it was in the last episode, we did the constellations, and there was the triangle that had like this sort of backstory to it. Well, this is that triangle. Cersei, do you recognize the symbol on the lower right?
It appears quite similar to Sanskrit. However, I don't recall a character quite like this one. Maybe a mark you need to the cartographer, like a signature.
Well, if that's the case, it's irrelevant to our investigation.
I agree, although my opinion could change should we come across the symbol elsewhere.
It's a map of Issa Bay. Judging from its condition, it is quite old.
If I were to guess, I'd say it's over 100 years old. No, perhaps even more than 200 years old. I wonder how old it really is.
The phrase "Search the 95th" is written on the map around the location of the Issa province. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to turn... we're going to hold it up to the light. And we're going to see the stars come out. Eureka! Inspiration strikes, I figured it out.
Did you? Where's the treasure?
You're going to point to the location, and it's here. So we got Kamishima, Taishima, and then there's something here. I have no doubts left. It is here, behold!
Oh, and what makes you say so?
Why, it is simple. This very spot marks the answer to our riddle. And I know from searching the database the last time that the name that is the star is linked with, I think it's Altair, but there's also the Japanese name is Hikoboshi, I think. Hikoboshi. I think I've got that right. Yeah, well, allow me to explain. You see, the 95th in the riddle must refer to the 95th tale in Tales of Issa. And the title of that tale is none other than Hikoboshi. Next, note how the summer triangle constellation is drawn on the back. The location of Hikoboshi or Altair corresponds to this very spot on the map.
Incredible. I should have expected nothing less. You truly are a genius, Avi.
Well, nothing compares to the rush of a breakthrough. Let's keep riding this high.
Well, you figured it out. Figured it out in one go. Perhaps you really are chosen by the gods.
Do feel free to keep the praise coming. Okay, should we have a think? We'll definitely solve the map's riddle. Should we talk to Cersei?
We may know where to look, but it's far too large an area to just start searching.
I figured out where the treasure lies. I'm quite keen to investigate further, but I should confirm some other matters first. Okay, well, I think we have to look at the business card now.
Oh, is this that business card from the guy we met earlier?
It is. We managed to glean some surprisingly good information from that exchange. Flashback. First things first, let's head back to the inn. From there, we can plan our next move.
Pardon me, but would the lovely lady and a handsome gentleman be willing to spare me a moment?
Why, yes, the gentleman does have some time.
I suppose that makes me the lady, then? Oh, it's you. You've been following us for quite some time.
He has? For how long?
Well, since the Isagran Shrine, I believe.
Truly? Maybe you could try to keep me apprised of things like this in the future, Cersei.
It appears I wasn't quite as stealthy as I thought. My apologies for the indiscretion. But as you see, the two of you piqued my interest. Foreigners in Issa Bay searching for mermaids.
Ah, you overheard everything. How embarrassing.
Avi hollering won't lessen the embarrassment.
Oh, but how rude of me. I ought to introduce myself.
Yeah, I'm an event planner here in Issa City. My name is Kipe Akoma. Now the name Kipe jumped out at me when I read this. I didn't quite remember where it came from, and it didn't appear in my files when I checked, or at least not where I found it. I think it's related to what the police detective was saying regarding the missing armor diver. I think the name Kipe Akoma came up then. I can't quite remember the context though, so I'm sure it will. I'm sure we'll be reminded of it in due course, anyway.
Oh, a fancy business card and everything. What a charming fellow. Let's see, Sala Planning, eh? And it says here you're the CEO?
Yeah, well, I'm actually the only employee, so the title doesn't mean much.
I see. I apologize for the rudeness. I actually just ran out of business cards of my own.
Did you ever have any?
I heard you needed to carry business cards in Japan if you want to avoid looking suspicious, but I still forgot to bring any. The freewheeling and forgetful man before you goes by the name Arnav Barnum, a fantasy author who is merely passing through. Do you believe me, or am I too suspicious without a business card for proof? The verdict is yours alone to make.
So you're an author, Mr. Barnum.
Please, call me Abby.
Ugh, this is
Cersei. She's studied more Japanese history than even the average Japanese citizen.
Well, it's a pleasure. If you like, I can list the top 100 of Issa's best features at any time.
Yeah, you're a delight. I was right to take an interest in the two of you.
Yeah, forgive me my bluntness, but would you mind sparing me a few moments? I'd love to talk a little longer.
Yeah, well, I suppose that could be arranged.
Now, I did have a look around, and there isn't really much to remark upon. I couldn't find any mockingbirds either, so let's just talk to this guy. We'll actually look at him first.
So this young man is actually a CEO, though I'm not sure if I'd call him young. His gaze has a piercing quality to it, and there is something off about his smile. Everything about him feels older than he looks.
Truth is, I'm currently planning a promotional tourism campaign for the Isashima region. I was thinking of using mermaid legends as centerpiece of the campaign.
Mermaids, huh?
Yeah, I'm sure you're already quite aware of the mermaid legends of Issa Bay, yeah, da? I thought we could hold events and exhibitions centered around such legends to attract tourists.
I see, so that's why you were interested in mermaids.
Additionally, the Isashima region is also famous for its pearls. I believe mermaids and pearls naturally complement one another. True, there's also the famous legend that the mermaid's tears turn into pearls when they're washed away by the ocean.
Oh, well, such a story would do wonders for driving tourism to the area.
What do we think?
I'm not sure if I should trust him. Entertaining a weirdo might prove to be a pain. That said, he is also interested in mermaids. Perhaps we could get some information out of him. Does this project mean you are knowledgeable about mermaids at Issa then, Mr. Akoma?
Yeah, I suppose it does. I know a fair bit. For example, there are some mermaid legends that most people have never heard of.
Oh, do share?
Well, a long time ago, there was an island south of Kimishima known as Taishima. Ever you heard of it?
I'm afraid I haven't.
It rings a bell. It was also called Taishima by some. Oh, that's absolutely right. Well, it is said that once upon a time, 3 mermaids lived on Taishima.
Wow, 3 of them? Tell me, were they human mermaids or fish mermaids?
Human mermaids? Well, I suppose their upper bodies were human, so I suppose you could describe them as such.
I see. Then that would separate them from the 3 mermaids discovered in Betsuho during the Heian period.
Oh, this is the first I've heard of this tale. However, Taishima sunk about 400 years ago during natural disaster. The mermaids seem to have vanished after that.
What? Oh, that's such a shame.
Regardless, it is said that the three mermaids were named Sobei, Nagami, and Hayesi.
So the three mermaids were named too, huh? Well, that definitely adds authenticity to the story.
Pardon me, Mr. Akoma. I never came across such concrete information. Where did you learn this?
Well, I don't blame you for questioning my sources. I also haven't managed to find any records of this tale. You see, the story was passed down through word of mouth. As it turns out, there was a single man who managed to escape the island's destruction. His descendants have kept the legend alive. Aha, so it's one of those descendants you heard the story from.
Well, that's right. They live a modest private life these days. When the story comes straight from a descendant like that, it does lend it some credibility.
I would love to inquire deeper about these Taishima mermaids. If you don't mind, could you share the identity of this descendant you speak of?
Yeah, my apologies, but I'm afraid I cannot oblige. She is not the friendliest sort. Frankly, even I have trouble getting her to open up. No matter how many times I visit her, I always feel like I'm only getting a part of the story.
I see. Well, that's a real shame.
No, this may not be much consolation, but I have another interesting rumor from this descendant to share.
Oh, I'm all ears.
It concerns one of the rumored Taishima mermaids. It is said that a few decades ago, one of those mermaids turned human and now lives among us.
No kidding.
She became human?
It does ring a bell, though. Why, that is exactly like the story of the Little Mermaid. What an exciting discovery.
You say this was only a few decades ago? That makes it quite recent. This former mermaid could even be walking among the people here as we speak.
Well, if the story is true, then yes. However, I'll concede that even I find the story hard to believe. It is a little fantastical. If there really were mermaids on Taishima 400 years ago, then that could provide us valuable new information.
By the way, may I ask why you're searching for Isabe's mermaids, are you?
Oh, no particular reason. I just thought it'd be fun to wander through some sightseeing areas related to the mermaid folklore, that's all.
Yeah, I see. Well, since you've traveled all the way to Japan to sightsee, I'd love to ask you some questions. Was there any missing from the areas you visited that you think might have made your trip more enjoyable?
What about those photo spots you put your face in?
I know those! All of them! Really, are they that interesting?
They're a Japanese tourism classic. It would be nice to see more of them.
Agreed. If I saw one, I'd certainly take a photo with it. Oh, and please, sell more of those little pennant flags. I can't resist those.
Yeah, I see. I truly appreciate the input, dear, but perhaps things are fine as they are.
Should you discover anything new regarding the area's mermaids, well, please let me know.
Understood. Well, we hope you will do the same for us.
Okay, we're done with that. I talk to Ceci?
Amazing, a brand new mermaid legend.
The real question's why?
Why?
There's a long history of people making up legends that drive tourism. Such stories linger on, despite their veracity being entirely unverifiable.
I suppose.
Is there something the matter? Oh, that's nothing.
It's nothing. Well, it's about time for us to get along.
That, of course. Well, thank you, and I apologize again for taking so much of your time. Actually, since you've come all the way to Japan... If anything happens to you during your vacation here, or you need any other help at all, please feel free to give me a call. I'm quite familiar with all sorts of businesses in the area. For example, I could put you in touch with someone should you be looking to interview amateur divers.
Oh, really? Oh, that's very kind. You're not just saying it as a formality, are you? A free-spirited lad like myself will not hesitate to take you up on an offer like this. I will call you.
Yeah, please, do not hold back. I'll leave you two to your sightseeing. Please have a good time.
If mermaids really did live on Taishima, it's certainly worth investigating.
Alrighty, so do we look at the business card again?
It's Akoma's business card. He's the CEO of the event planning company we ran into earlier.
Maybe I'll talk to Cersei about it. Even if we were to search the area, on the map. It's in the middle of the sea. How are we supposed to search a place like that? Looking for an unknown object somewhere on a large swathe of the seafloor seems like an impossible task.
You're right, that does sound difficult. We might have to ask our friendly CEO for help.
Well, he did give us his card. However, wouldn't that mean we'd have to inform him of the map?
No other way about it. In addition, should we find anything, I imagine he'll expect a share of the spoils. I really wanted to keep it all to myself. Sharing is the worst.
I understand. We've got no other options.
It is a shame, but I suppose you're right. We should contact him as soon as we can. Bloop.
Okay, so we're going to go into Treasure Hunt Part 2.
So yeah, I'm going to restart this module.
Was it Part 1? I think this is right. Hang on, let me go back to Story Chart. Yeah. So, had I done this? Yeah. We did this one just now, didn't we? Sitting in the room. So it is this one. I'm just keen that I don't skip ahead to stuff you've not seen. Hello, this is a comrade. I'm calling about the seafloor investigation. He asked an Emma David to investigate the area because I was keen to get the results as soon as possible. However, she is not returned.
Which is why we're heading out there to ourselves to assess the situation. We've nothing else to do, after all.
So we asked an amateur diver to investigate the seafloor in the area.
Well, I guess in a place like this, it would be faster to hire an ama than a regular diver. Even in this age, we can still get some amas to do contracted dives. It appears she was contracted to investigate for about an hour, at which point she was to return even if empty-handed. I suppose the intent was just for her to survey the area to start with.
However, several hours passed with no word from the diver. I can see why a comrade's worried.
We'll have to start by checking out the location. We can request a police search after if need be. Cersei, do you have a bad feeling about this?
I do, ever since we first heard about it.
I see.
There's a strong negative spirit energy in the air. It is only intensified as we approach the spot. Something happened here.
The diver didn't make it back. Is it safe for us to go?
Well, I've got a talisman that repels evil, so we should be fine.
Well, if you say so. Worst comes to worst, we'll reunite in the afterlife.
Understood. Well, leave it to me. There's something there.
That must be the Amadiver's boat. There doesn't appear to be anyone around. How unsettling.
You're right. There's something terrible here.
Is it really that bad?
It is. I can tell even from this distance it's coming from that bucket. It's saturated with sinister spiritual energy. There's some real powerful curse inside.
Inside the bucket? Does that mean the Amadiver found something on the seafloor and brought it up to the surface? And perhaps succumbed to the curse while trying to get it out?
Yeah, unfortunately. As we cannot say for certain what the misfortune this curse may call forth, I need you to remain cautious.
Can you dispel curses, Cersei?
It depends on the curse itself, but I believe I may be able to handle one of this caliber.
Oh, that's a relief. Is it really safe for us to approach that boat, though?
Yeah, it's fine. Well, for me at least.
Oh, understood. If anything happens to me, then I'll leave the rest to you.
Oh my, there's a small metal box in the bucket. This has to be the source.
Can we take it?
Well, yeah, provided I can overpower the malice it's engulfed in. That was it. Should be safe for you to touch now. I'll leave that part to you.
No problem. Yeah, it's pretty heavy. What do you think this box is exactly?
Well, it appears to be quite old. It likely dates back to the same time period as your map. Here, take a look at the symbol on the top of the box. Do you recognise it from anywhere?
Whoa, ho, ho, this is the strange symbol we saw on the map.
Is thus fair to say that the map was leading us towards this exact box?
That only makes its identity all the more intriguing. There's some strange lines on the side. Perhaps it is some sort of pattern. It appears to open from the top, but it's not budging at all. It would take quite a lot of strength to force it open.
I believe this box has been sealed with powerful spiritual energy. It was probably sealed by a skilled sorcerer a long time ago. I doubt it'll open to any normal means.
I can feel something shifting inside whenever I turn it. There must be some kind of mechanism inside.
And I suppose you'll want to align the box with the spiritual energy of this place.
In English, please?
Well, it's likely that the mechanism for unlocking the box is activated by orientating the box in the right directions in the right order.
I see. So we have to figure out where to point it. Well, leave it to me. Right. So let's take out the box. Now then, how to open this metal box? I should investigate the box and rotate it so I can get a good look at all four sides. Right, so you'll note the shapes and the little dots in the bottom. Now, if we rotate it, you can see there's now 4 dots, 2 dots, 3 dots, 1 dot. So from this we can discern that is the correct order to do stuff. And the solution to this puzzle is that we need to match the little pictures there up to the sort of island coastlines that we see in the correct order. There we go. So that's the first one. Oh, I felt something move inside the box. I must be on the right track.
Nice, keep at it.
Right, so we want number 2 next. It's this one. I think this one... I think it's here. Go. All right, I'm on fire. That's 2. I need number 3, which is this one, which I think is here. It's here. I found it.
Good job. Just one left.
Right. Yeah. So now we need number 4. And the other island this relates to isn't here. I think it must have been Taishima, so we have to do it there. Yes, it's open.
Congratulations. What's inside?
Oh, let's see. What's this? Some kind of small wooden carving.
Oh?
The curse stone of the Forsaken Fish. You remember curse stones from the first game if you watched my series on that. Whoa, something came out. Yikes, what is this? Make it stop. A deep and painful resentful memory has invaded my mind. Drift forever, ill-doers. Be as fish. Perish. You have acquired the Curse of the Forsaken Fish curse stone. You can use it to turn people into fish and kill them when they are submerged in the water of Issa Bay. It can even be used at a distance, provided the target meets the requirements. Press the Use Curse button when you wish to use the curse. What the hell was that?
Well, I'm not certain, but I believe we may just have acquired a cursed tool known as a curse stone. However, they're rarely possessed by such powerful curse echoes. How lucky!
If you truly are congratulating me, then I'll happily celebrate with you, but can I ask you something first?
Of course.
Am I cursed? Am I going to die?
Well, I wouldn't say you're cursed, per se. There was a similar case in Tokyo last year.
Which is the events of the first game. Hold on for a minute. I cannot think straight. This is far too overwhelming. An incredible amount of information flooded my mind just now. I need a moment to settle before I can take in anything else.
You must mean the resentful memory held by the curse. It's a phenomenon wherein the events leading up to the curse forming are passed on to the curse bearer so that its grudge will spread. But when curse bearer refers to someone who's haunted by a curse echo and thus able to use the curse.
No, stop. I already told you I can't take any new information. You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? I think I just learned why Taishima sung 400 years ago. Let me sort out all of that first.
Really? Oh, tell me.
Yes. Well, give me a minute.
Yeah, well, thank you for investigating the situation for me. I was involved in an accident many years ago, so I can't bring myself to go out to sea anymore. You've been a tremendous help.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. We actually got our hands on something quite valuable, so we owe you thanks as well.
Well, it's great. I'd love to hear more about what you discovered, if you don't mind.
Of course. With Nakoma's debt, I suppose we ought to tell him everything we've learned.
Yeah, the diver I hired to perform the search was an amateur diver living in Toba City by the name of Tamiko Suma.
So was she one of the fish bodies that we found? If I look in our files at maybe Phenomena Curses? If we go back, it'll be in profiles? Yeah, he's there. It's not. Okay. She may have been the fish body the police found.
You thought there was no way we could pull off the search, but that's when she agreed to take on my request.
I feel terrible about what happened. I can only hope that she's still out there somewhere unharmed. She had no way of knowing how dangerous this job was.
Please, I am the one who sent her out there. If there was blame to take, it is mine. But still, what exactly happened out there?
Well, about that. Let's start with this metal box the armor diver found.
Yeah, please do.
So basically, this is the wooden carving we found inside the metal box.
Yeah, I see. So your map indicated the location of this wooden carving.
We believe so.
Yeah, the question is why? Why go to all the way to not just hide it, but to conceal the map in the mermaid mummy? How very intriguing. I suppose a carving like that would have had some value back in the day, but to go through all the effort to preserve it like this...
I believe what was preserved was not the carving itself, but the mermaid's memory that was stored inside the curse. Dun dun dun!
A curse? Dun dun what now?
That's right. In other words, the one who made that box entrusted it with a message, and we are the recipients.
Please calm down. I'm feeling quite lost. I know you're quite excited, but I think we got no choice but to start explaining the curse.
Oh, that's right. It's curse chit-chat time. You may be a bit too rational to believe what I am about to tell you, Mr. Akoma. Even so, I ask that you try your best.
Here?
If you're ready to hear it, I'm ready to say it. Come, give me your answer in the next 3 seconds. 3...
I'm prepared. Please tell me. Yeah, I see. So the Taishima mermaid known as Hayashi was killed by raiders.
I think we may have skipped that part of his explanation. Maybe I should go and talk through the right part of the files. I think it's this one. Yeah, not quite. I guess in replaying it, maybe it skipped over it somehow. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, this should have been explained to us already, but obviously hasn't replayed it. So let me read it now. Around 400 years ago, during the Sengoku period, Oda Nobunaga was assassinated at Honnoji Temple. Kuki Yoshitaka, commander of the Kuki Navy, had steadily been gaining influence within the clan. But he now found himself at a crossroads in an era still racked by the turmoil of war. It was then that a vassal of the Kuki clan, Komatsu Sadamuni, approached him with some intriguing information. According to Sadamuni, 3 mermaids were said to be living on Taishima under the protection of some of the island's residents, even though the island was originally thought to be uninhabited. It was widely known through folklore that eating the flesh of a mermaid granted one immortality and eternal youth. Sadamuni urged Yoshitaka to take advantage of this, suggesting that if he possessed such power, an invincible army would be his to command. Seeing this as the opportunity he'd been waiting for, Yoshitaka ordered Sadamuni to capture the mermaids and bring them back to him. However, Kuki Sumitaka, Yoshitaka's nephew and head of the clan at the time, strongly opposed his approaching Taishima. It was in fact Sumitaka who had secretly been protecting the mermaids on Taishima. Believing the mermaids to be messengers of the gods and the island a sacred sanctuary, he had worked to keep them isolated from outside influence. His adopted daughter, Princess Hatsune, was also living in hiding on Taishima at the time for other reasons, which further strengthened his opposition to Yoshitaka's plan. However, it was not long before Komatsu Sadamuni learned of this. He reported to Yoshitaka that Sumitaka was not only planning to keep the mermaids for himself, but was also secretly moving to build an army of his own. Infuriated by what he perceived as an act of rebellion, Yoshitaka gave the order for Sadamuni to prepare a military invasion of Taishima. Upon receiving the order, Komatsu Sadamuni immediately set sail for Taishima at the head of a large army. Caught off guard by the unexpected attack, Sumitaka scrambled to send out his own forces in an attempt to resist, but was unable to prevent the enemy from landing. In the blink of an eye, the once peaceful and beautiful landscape of Taishima was transformed into a nightmare. The islanders, guardians of the sacred land, desperately fought back, but they stood no chance against seasoned soldiers hardened by years of battle on the front lines, and one after another they fell before the invaders. Sadamuni ordered that even women and children be cut down without mercy, and soon the waters around Taishima ran red with blood. Sadamuni's forces swept across the island, searching every inch for signs of the mermaids as they pressed their assault. Finally, they discovered a mermaid in hiding by the name of Hayashi, and captured her. Sadamuni demanded that she make his troops immortal, but the mermaid staunchly refused, even as Sadamuni turned to torture, inflicting unspeakable pain with every refusal. The torture escalated until eventually even her supernatural nature was not enough to withstand the torment. On the brink of death and resigned to her fate, Hayashi gave a final terrible cry, overflowing with resentment and anger as she breathed her last. Sadamuni ordered his men to take the flesh from her body, but as they moved to do so, a strange phenomenon began to occur. All the soldiers who approached her body began to transform into fish, their bodies decaying rapidly as the transformation took hold. Hayashi had cast a curse upon them with her dying breath. With the one mermaid Sadamuni had captured dead and his forces decimated, he began a mad search of the island in pursuit of the remaining 2 mermaids. Eventually, he found a deep cave in the interior of the island that extended far beneath the earth, reaching down to the sea floor. In the deepest part of the cave was a shrine, and a door with a powerful seal over it that he couldn't open no matter how hard he tried. Convinced this had to be the entrance to the sacred land, the home of the mermaids, remember that's Ryugu, Sadamuni gathered all his remaining gunpowder and artillery and unleashed it on the door, destroying both it and the shrine in the process. The next moment, a violent tremor racked the entire island, and the skies above were engulfed by a storm. The repercussions of his desecration of the sacred land and the resentment of the islanders he had senselessly slaughtered blended together, unleashing an all-consuming calamity that seemed to shake the very heavens and earth. Ravaged by fierce earthquakes and vicious storms, Taishima sank beneath the waves, as if nature itself sought to protect the sacred land by erasing all traces of its existence. Thus were Taishima and the sacred land, along with Sadamuni and his army, lost to the sea in an instant. The only survivors of this tragedy were 2 mermaids and 2 islanders that had successfully made their escape from the island. Hayashi had in fact stayed behind as bait to allow the others to escape. The 2 surviving islanders were Princess Hatsune and a man named Somikawa, who had been assigned the duty of protecting a relic important to the mermaids. However, the tale did not end with the sinking of Taishima. Sumitaka eventually made it to the seas near the island, but a fierce anger and resentment darkened the waters around it, and the curse born from these dark emotions, the curse of the raging waves, had given rise to a storm that continued to rage even several days after the incident. Furthermore, the curse born from Hayashi's final moments, the curse of the forsaken fish, also continued to exert its influence on the area, causing anyone who entered the storm's domain to transform into a fish. The situation had grown beyond anyone's ability to control. Sumitaka, looking for a solution, turned to Tsuchimikado Harukagi, a renowned onmyoji and friend of Princess Hatsune. After conducting an investigation, Harukagi concluded that the source of the curse was the sacred land, now sunk beneath the waves. Although the curse was too powerful to dispel, it would be possible to seal the sacred land by offering up a sacrifice, thereby suppressing its calamitous effects. The seal would last for 400 years, by which time he anticipated the curse of the raging waves would dissipate. Hearing this, Princess Hatsune volunteered to sacrifice herself in the hopes that it would bring peace to the souls of the islanders who had looked after her during her time on Taishima. With her noble sacrifice, the storm at last died down, and peace was restored to the seas around the island. A bronze mirror in Princess Hatsune's possession at the time was imbued with power to serve as a talisman to calm raging waves, and was passed from person to person over the years, eventually making its way to Kamishima. Okay. Tsuchi Mikado Hurakagi was also able to seal the curse of the Forsaken Fish in the wooden accessory the Princess Hatsune had been wearing, turning it into a curse stone. Harukagi used the resentful memories contained within the curse stone to create a record of the event, which he sealed within a heavily locked iron box before concealing it in a rock on the seabed. In the event the curse of the raging waves had not abated even after 400 years, he made it so that the seal on the rock would be lifted at the same time as the seal on the sacred land, so that the record of what had happened and the method of undoing the curse would make its way to future generations. Meanwhile, to protect the sacred land and the mermaids, Sumitaka ensured all records of Taishima were erased, so no mention of the island or the disaster that had befallen it would make its way into historical accounts. He also concocted a tale in which Princess Hatsune had thrown herself down a well in defiance of a political marriage in order to conceal her sacrifice. Afterwards, Kuki Yoshitaka, infuriated not only by his failure to obtain immortality, but also by the loss of his primary military force, murdered Sumitaka, who opposed him to the very end, and seized control of the Kuki clan in both name and nature. He had his vassals search the area around Taishima countless times after that, but it is said that they found neither the mermaids nor any trace of their existence. That kind of brings us up to date on that kind of the history of that stuff, yeah? I see. Oh, that's not right. Yeah, I see. So the Taishima mermaid known as Hayase was killed by raiders. The hatred she left behind became a curse that entered this wooden carving. You, Abby, then inherited her curse in addition to information from 400 years ago in the form of a resentful memory. You absorbed all that quite efficiently. I'm impressed. Yeah, this is actually not the first time I've heard of what can happen if one touches a curse stone. Oh? Yeah, but let's save that conversation for later. More importantly, you know what actually went down on Taishima 400 years ago. That's right, I know the truth. All of it. What happened, what didn't, I know it. You seem a bit frazzled. Do you need more time to collect your thoughts? There's no need to worry. I am prepared, but it will take some time to explain. They may run us through now what we just read, but we'll go through it anyway, because they may offer different perspectives on it. Let's talk about Taishima. It's time to reveal what truly happened 400 years ago to Taishima and the mermaids. Yeah, please, do tell. Around 400 years ago, the area of Shima province, which included Taishima, was governed by the Kuki clan. The leader of the clan at the time was Kuki Sumitaka, and it was his duty to protect the secret of the three mermaids living on Taishima. Yeah, that must have been Sobe, Nagami, and Hayase. However, the legend that eating mermaid flesh could grant immortal life was well known, so he secretly hid them on Taishima, so no one would learn about their existence. It appears Sumitaka thought of the mermaids as a sacred or divine existence. The thought of seeking immortality for himself likely never crossed his mind. The land where the mermaids lived was a sanctuary that he fiercely protected at all costs. In other words, Taishima was an island where people worshipped mermaids in secret. Indeed, it meant the people living on the island were not simple commoners, but guards tasked with protecting this sanctuary and its mermaids. Sumitaka was so dedicated to keeping the mermaids secret that he kept the existence of Taishima out of historical records. The public believed the island was entirely uninhabited. Yeah, I see. Well, by keeping the existence hidden, he was able to keep the mermaids safe. However, a vassal of Sumitaka's uncle Yoshitaka learned about the mermaids on Taishima. He passed this information on to Yoshitaka, who believed obtaining immortality was a must to rise to the top in an era that was often plagued by war. He commanded his vassal to lead his army to Taishima and do whatever he had to return with the flesh of a mermaid. Though Sumitaka and those on the island resisted, but the invading army was far too powerful. The island was swiftly overrun. Ultimately, Hayase was captured and brought before the vassal. The vassal tortured her, demanding she grant him the power of immortality. But Hayase did not yield, even to the most hellish torments. She screamed and cursed with despair and anger until her dying breath. Oh, that's horrible. The hatred Hayase felt at the moment of her death led to the creation of the curse of the Forsaken Fish. And that is what I learned from the resentful memory inside the curse stone. But to be honest, that is only half. Half of what? Half of the memories. The other half is the memories of the one who left behind the metal box. Namely, the story of how the curse of the Forsaken Fish became a cursed stone. Having failed to obtain immortality, the vassal flew into a rage. He had all the inhabitants of Taishima slaughtered as revenge for keeping this secret.
This guy was the worst.
Finally, he continued his advance into the sanctuary the islanders had protected, down to the last man. There, he destroyed its shrine. What irony that he came so close to the secret he had been so desperate to find.
You saying that the other two mermaids were still in the sanctuary?
No, they had already fled Taishima. Actually, there were two other survivors. Sumitaka's adopted daughter, Princess Hatsune, also escaped the chaos of the invasion unscathed. There was one other islander who managed to survive as well, taking with him the treasure the mermaids had protected.
The mermaid's treasure?
This may shed some light on the descendants you spoke of earlier.
Of course, she must be a descendant of the man who escaped that day.
We now know she was correct when she spoke of 3 mermaids living on Taishima.
Ah, so we do.
Putting descendants aside for now, let's return to 400 years ago. The vassals' invasion and destruction of the sanctuary was like a trigger. As a reaction to the sanctuary's fate and their own ill-deserved deaths, the sorrow and hatred of the islanders swirled together and formed into the curse of the raging waves, a natural disaster that shook the heavens when it descended upon Taishima. The curse bombarded Taishima with violent winds, earthquakes, and thunder. Then, in a final act, to protect Taishima's lost sanctuary, they sank it into the sea to destroy all evidence of it ever existing.
They destroyed it?
The small island of Taishima sunk swiftly under the waves. The vassal and all of his men were, of course, all killed thanks to the curse. But one problem remained.
Yeah, that wasn't the end of it?
Taishima was destroyed by the natural disasters caused by the curse of the raging waves. But the calamity continued for many days. It must have seemed as though it would never end.
Yeah, I can't imagine how terrifying it must have been.
Pardon me, I got hiccups. Sumitaka even sought out a famous onmyoji to dispel the curse, but he was unsuccessful. The curse would eventually sink to the bottom of the sea, along with the sanctuary, and be sealed there. Only then did the calamity end. I'm going to pause while I get over my hiccups. Hang on a sec. Better? Yet it appears this curse was so powerful that it required a sacrifice to be truly sealed.
A sacrifice?
Well, not just any sacrifice, but a living one. Princess Hatsune offered herself up to be that sacrifice.
You said that she was Sumitaka's adopted daughter, yet, she lived on Taishima?
Well, that appears to be the case. Sumitaka was evidently so taken with her that he decided to adopt...
Oh, hang on.
Well, that appears to be the case. Sumitaka was evidently so taken with her that he decided to adopt her.
The rumour that she threw herself down a well was likely spread to cover up the real cause of her death. So Princess Hatsune was actually sacrificed.
The sea would hold for 400 years. They must have hoped that the curse itself would fade during that time too. However, the curse of the forsaken fish created by Hayase also continued to linger in the same place. So the onmyoji sealed it inside the wooden carving, turning it into a cursed stone. Then the same onmyoji, knowing that the seal would only last 400 years, stored his memories within the cursed stone to pass on this information.
He wished to pass down his knowledge for others to use in the event that the curse outlasted the 400-year lifespan of the seal. He left behind instructions on how to completely dispel the curse of the raging waves.
Indeed, I've compiled it all in my files.
Yeah, so that's what happened.
And that wraps it up. I got all that info beamed into my brain in a flash, and yet I still managed to present it as an enticing narrative, eh? How amazing was that?
You're utterly astounding. Wow. Incredible.
I chose to interpret that as sarcastic.
You have the Mizuma found the metal box. You mean to tell me she's died?
It's likely.
If we consider that the curse of the Forsaken Fish had completely saturated the metal box, it is likely already too late for her. Horrible.
Since she likely turned into a fish and died soon after, there is a high chance her transformed body will wash up on shore soon.
This reminds me, I meant to ask about the metal box. It has been lying on the seafloor for 400 years. How come it wasn't discovered until now?
It most likely was sealed inside a rock or something until a few months ago. So it was sealed away until a certain amount of time had passed.
No, I believe the box's unsealing may have been triggered by something.
I compiled all the details of the story in these files, so feel free to go over it at your own pace.
Oh, da. Thank you. Спасибо.
Is that it? Oh, okay. Maybe we talk to... Sis?
Wait a second.
Is something wrong?
Avi, if someone is affected by the curse of the Forsaken Fish, the transformation starts at the feet and travels slowly up, yeah?
I believe so, though it's hard to say for sure without witnessing it.
Well, if that's true, that may explain the true identities fish mermaids discovered in this area. It could have been the bodies of those who died in the middle of transforming due to the curse of the Forsaken Fish.
Oh, that's a convincing theory. Fish mermaids have been recorded as having only human heads or faces, or appearing human just from the chest or shoulders up. If the curse starts at the feet and travels upward, that would explain the variety of fish mermaids that have appeared.
The process is so painful that most die mid-transformation. Then the curse causes the corpse to rapidly wither, forming a fibrous mass.
Ah!
It may even be the true identity of your mermaid mummy.
Interesting. Still, without analysing it directly, there is no way to know for certain. But perhaps this is why the mermaid mummies originating from Japan are of such high quality.
Of course, this doesn't mean that all the fish mermaids and mermaid mummies are authentic.
But it means it is the possibility.
Any number of fish mermaids could actually be victims of this curse. Actually, I just remembered there were 2 points from your tale I wish to discuss.
About the events 400 years ago.
Well, my first point concerns the vassal who tortured the mermaids in an attempt to obtain immortality. If all he needed was the mermaid's flesh, why would it be necessary to torture her?
Oh, that's true. It could mean that the vassal ate the mermaid's flesh, but had not become immortal. So he tortured her to figure out why.
Yes, as for the second observation, I've got a theory about the area you described as the sanctuary. Could it possibly be referring to an entrance to Ryugu?
Ryugu?
It's sometimes also referred to as the eternal world or the world beyond. In some legends, mermaids are priestesses who serve the ruler of Ryugu, the god of the sea.
I see. Yet the sanctuary was actually an entrance to Ryugu. Then that could mean that the mermaids were not living on Taishima, but merely travelling there from Ryugu.
Yeah, I believe that's the case. It would also explain why the destruction of the sanctuary would inspire the fury of the gods of the sea. To be honest, it's difficult to believe that the grudges of the inhabitants of Taishima would be enough to explain what happened. How could they possibly engender a curse so powerful it could sink an island and linger for more than 400 years? However, it's quite easy to believe that a curse from Ryugu could maintain such power.
That also explains the necessity of a living sacrifice. Of course, one would be required to seal an entrance to Ryugu. But if the entrance to Ryugu was sealed, what became of the 2 mermaids that fled Taishima?
Well, I doubt Sobe and Nagami managed to return to Ryugu. I believe they've been living here in the human world for the past 400 years, waiting for the seal to be lifted. They just hid somewhere away from the human eyes.
But if that's true, they've been successfully hiding for over 400 years.
Of course, if they were to hide themselves at the bottom of the sea, then it'd be practically impossible to find them. It's also possible they've just been wandering the globe rather than lingering in one place.
Well, that could explain all the mermaid sightings around the world. They could all be these same too.
All this discussion of hiding made me realise something.
What is it?
Do you recall the story Mr. Akuma told us yesterday of the mermaid who became human?
Are you suggesting she decided to join human society because she could not return to Ryugu?
Well, it's a possibility that we should consider.
But that only occurred a few decades ago. Why would she decide to become human just before the seal was released?
Perhaps her circumstances changed. We can only speculate on the motivations of someone who's lived for centuries. Is it possible she didn't feel compelled, but decided to become human out of her own desire?
Could she have met someone she wanted to live a mortal life with, like in The Little Mermaid?
Well, it's certainly possible. Quite romantic as well.
I'll have to write this down. It could make a solid novel.
Oh, I've just realised something.
What? What is it?
Well, you heard about this mermaid from the descendant of the Taishima survivor, yeah?
Yeah, that is correct. I feel it's only right that they are informed of the things we learned. We'd love to talk to her. We're quite curious about this mermaid treasure, too, It must have been passed down to them through the generations.
You understand. I'll probably drop by her place later anyway, since I also have to handle the matter with Miss Suma. Yeah, I'll discuss it with her then.
Thanks, well that'd be great.
That said, in return I have a favor to ask of you.
Go ahead, we will do whatever we can.
You said that the seal over the entrance to Ryugu has been lifted, is that correct?
Yeah, it's most likely been going for several months now.
Ah, really?
A horrible curse has been swirling around the area where Taishima used to be. It's possible that the curse of the raging waves, and it surged up from Ryugu once more now that the seal's been lifted. The fact that we were able to open the metal box is proof enough that the seal has faded.
Now, would that mean the entrance to Ryugu is now open?
Well, the situation is quite unstable now, what with the curse of the raging waves sweeping in through the entrance.
At any rate, what did you want us to do?
Yeah, there's an island called Kimishima that was located quite close to where Taishima once was. There is something I would like you to do for me there. Yes, the request does in fact have some relation to our current conversation.
Oh?
Now then, Avi.
Hmm?
We decided to tell Akoma everything, but I know there's some information you kept from him.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, something from the mermaid's memories. The real way to obtain immortality.
Well, that's right. Well, I see no reason to inform him about it. After all, no matter what he may say about tourist attractions, this guy is also after immortality. I saw him straighten up when you talked about the mermaid being tortured, because her captor required more than her flesh for immortality.
Are you sure? I thought his goal, even if he had one, was to quell the curse of the raging waves.
Perhaps there's that too. He even asked us to go to Kamishima and find the still-tide mirror in his stead. You did mention lifting the curse required the mirror as well as the help of the Taishima's descendant, right?
There was also something about lifting a seal first, but I don't know what that part's all about.
Well, I see no harm in quelling the curse, so I say we continue to cooperate for now.
Agreed. Though I do wish we did not have to approach Kamishima at all. The evil atmosphere there is nauseating.
However, we must consider the possibility that Akoma actually has his eyes set on the mermaids in Ryugu. It's possible he may be searching for mermaids like us. I suppose that discussion can wait for later. First, we must find the treasure that the survivor managed to slip out of Taishima.
You mean the treasure required in addition to mermaid flesh when attempting to gain immortality?
Yes, it is a treasure known as the Tamatabako. Mermaid flesh has to be put inside and purified by it to have any effect. So provided one has both the flesh of a human mermaid and a Tamatabako, then immortality is indeed attainable. Boom!
Well, if we could meet with the Taishima descendant, they could probably provide us with information on Tamatabako.
I concur. If we could get our hands on the Tamatabako, we wouldn't have to worry about Akoma. However, it's likely he's wary of us and will keep us from meeting the descendant.
Well, at the very least, we know he's cautious enough to keep a name secret. Well, that's why I asked him to hand over our little souvenir.
Ah, what was that all about anyway? You're sure we're not going to need that iron box?
I doubt we'll need it again. Plus, you can think of it as a backup plan.
So, remember she said she could, it says dowse, but kind of track spiritual energy that she is familiar with. I think that's what she's done. She's basically put a GPS tracker on this descendant by giving them that box, is what I think is happening. I don't know that. It's not mentioned again, so I haven't seen ahead to that part yet. But that's what I'm guessing anyway. Well, regardless of what happens, we'll have to be able to meet with the descendant tomorrow. Let's get our hands on that mermaid treasure. Time to find a Tamatabako.
Okay.
Bloop. And that's as far as I've come. So as you can see, I haven't yet gone into these new memories, which is Descendant and Duty and arriving on Kamishima. We're going to do those next, I think, because it feels like we need to kind of bring Arnav and Cersei up to kind of present events, and then we can kind of probably jump back and forth to various points of view characters to progress the story forwards from there. So yeah, anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed this. Quite a lot of background, but interesting to get a lot more on the curse stones, the origins of the curse, and what happened, I think, 400 years ago on the island and why it sank. Well, you know, we've got that kind of solidified now, which I think is cool. But yeah, no, I was going to say that I think it's quite obvious. I think maybe both mermaids are still around, and I think we may even have met one of them. I'm not sure, but definitely there's a lot going on.
And I'm looking forward to finding out more. Hopefully you are as well. And if you've enjoyed this episode, if you could hit that like button, that'd be awesome. Do leave me a comment as well. Share your theories and thoughts on the story and history and characters and everything else. Just always good to get that kind of input. And a big thank you as always to our channel members as well for supporting Boring Dad Gaming. Continues to be hugely appreciated. And if anyone else is interested in, checking out memberships and gaining earlier access to my videos, that would be awesome. Thanks very much. And I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.